Hello and thanks for joining us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television AIT, and welcome to the Signature Show. I'm Waboz and Jokwet. What are we looking at this Sunday? Now, let us consider the following. Reactions have begun to trail our exclusive report on the ordeal of kidnapped victims of Kafinkoro in Niger State. Death for sit at home in the southeast. Something has definitely gone wrong. Could Abdullahi Adamu, chairman of ruling All Progressives Congress, be on his way out? Same-sex marriage. This plague is not from Egypt. It is from Europe. What is Mesomejikeme? What? Plus our thank you. Let me tell you something. This is an edition you will always want to remember. Just stay with us. Now, after our exclusive story on the ordeal of Kafinkoro residents in Niger State, north central Nigeria, calls were made to one or relations of the kidnapped victims, bringing down the ransom from 20 million naira to 7 million. And the family quickly rallied round and raised the sum of 7 million naira and headed to the location where they were directed to drop the money, of course, with a lot of anticipation. As they approached the location, they called the very telephone number that was given to them by the kidnappers, and the voice at the other end asked them how much they were coming with. When they announced the figure of 7 million naira, which we were told, they were ordered to go back with the insult if they themselves did not want to be wasted. So the Kafinkoro kidnapped victims remain with their abductors. Of course, this was the situation as at last Wednesday when we received the latest update. Meanwhile, after our last edition, some residents of Kuje Area Council in the Federal Capital Territory got across the Signature Show with their own tale of woes. According to them, on the 26th of June, the Wakili of Dibe and his 3 children were killed in a fatal kidnap attempt. One of the Wakili's children still remains hospitalized from the injuries he sustained in the failed attempt. The residents now say the killing of the Wakili and his 3 children was in fact the crescendo of a series of kidnappings in, let me try these names, Dibe, Pandama, Kabusha, Kisaki, and Pavu, all in the Gaube ward of Kuje Area Council. Now, according to them, living in these areas has become a nightmare. Last Sunday, we called on President Bola Tinubu to treat that file on national security on his table. This Sunday, we asked Nigeria's security and intelligence community to please be honest with the president. They should tell him whether they have the capacity and capability to deal with the nation's security challenges. They should tell him where all these are coming from, internal or external. Is it youth frustration, or is it criminal undermining of national development through violence for economic profit? They should tell the president, please, not tomorrow, this evening, as we expect Nigeria's security family to tell our president something. Come, let me tell you something too. Something is wrong in the southeast states of Nigeria. Penultimate week, the indigenous peoples of Biafra IPOB denied a statement that it had ordered a 1-week sit-at-home to pressure the Nigerian authorities to release its leader, Nnamdi Kanu. But all through last week, gun-toting young men driving in all manner of vehicles went on a shooting and killing spree in broad daylight to enforce the so-called sit-at-home order. The Southeast governors, if you remember, had risen against that order. It is now necessary to ask, which order were these young men enforcing? The one denied by IPOB itself? Is there a crack in the organization? Additionally, whose word is reverenced in the Southeast today? The governors, Ohanese, the elders, or who? Once in my own lifetime, there was the Igbo Union, and when it spoke, Igbo land stood by those words. Once, when Igbo priests spoke, the people knew it was gospel. Whose words count today? In any case, what is the interest of the Igbo in the Nigerian nation? And who is speaking on those matters? Gun-toting young men going about killing the very people they claim to be fighting for? No. It is obvious that what is bigger than the Nte has entered the abode of Nte. That thing cannot and is not kindred to Nte. Mark it. Or is this a monster gone out of control? Political players, cowardly to openly canvass what they consider an Igbo agenda, arming the youth from behind to do dirty job while they continue to enjoy close relationship with those they say undermine the Igbo agenda? That will be dishonest. That will be cowardly. This Sunday, I call out Senator Juzo Kalu, Senator Theodore Ochi, Dr. Okezi Bazu. These are former governors of Abia State. I call out Dr. Sam Egu, Martin Lechi, sorry, it's late, Dave Umahi. These are former governors of Ebonyi State. I call out Chimaroke Namane, Sullivan Chime, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi. These are former governors of Enugu State. I call out Virginia Tiaba, Chris Ngige, Peter Obi, Willie Obiano. These are former governors of Anambra State. And I call out Achike Udenwa, Ikedi Ohakim, Rochas Okorocha, Emeki Ihedioha. These are former governors of Imo State. Why? By their positions as governors, they had security reports on their states. Unless the security and intelligence agencies were dishonest to them, these men and women from the Southeast, by the virtue of their positions, know what has gone wrong. They know what the issues are. They know who is arming these young men and who is sending funds to them either from abroad or from within. They know what the agenda is, whether misguided or not.
I'm asking you people questions.
Now, for the opportune time, I wish to state that I fought the Civil War. I never turned my rifle on my mother, on my father, my brothers, and my sisters. I never turned my rifle on the elders. I was told what cause I was fighting, and that cause was endorsed by the elders. Who has endorsed this bloodletting Southeast? Some drunk at the market square? No. Nte must be enabled to sit on his eggs and hatch in peace to regenerate his kind. The words of the Efulefu cannot become the reason to sound the gong of war. It is unheard of. This is the signature show on AIT. We take a break and return shortly. Please stay with us. Well, the rumblings have refused to stop. I mean, the rumblings in Nigeria's ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Now, let's check the timeline. Before the party's presidential primary, the jostling for the ticket of the party put the national chairman, Abdullahi Adamu, at odds with Bola Tinubu camp. Before then, if you remember, Abdullahi Adamu, with the tacit support of then President Muhammad Buhari, had begun dismantling what they considered a Tinubu stranglehold on the party. Now let me remind you, Adams Oshomole, a man who openly flew the flag of Tinubu, was elbowed out as national chairman of the party. Then in the build-up to the 2022 presidential primary, Buhari and Abdullahi Adamu went for the consensus option. If you remember, Tinubu and his political camp saw through the objective of that consensus and squeezed Buhari into conceding an open contest. But before this could be consolidated, Abdullahi Adamu moved and announced former Senate President Ahmed Lawan as the consensus candidate. But the bottom fell off the bucket and made its content an effort in vain. That was how Tinubu worsted those contending with him and emerged as the party's candidate. More sins have since been committed against Tinubu in the APC. And they say the only sin never forgiven is political sin. You pay by eating the humble pie and licking your spittle, or you get the long knife. Political sins in APC, who will pay the price? That is the issue in our conversation this Sunday. Enjoy it. Stay with us. Comrade Omotosho. Comrade, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Comrade, let me just begin from a general framework. In the Second Republic, if you remember, because of MPN, UPN, MPP, and all that, there was what was called supremacy of the party.
Yes.
In other words, the structure and leadership of the party had control over their elected members.
Yes.
The elected members were, let me use the expression, per force, implemented the manifesto of the party
yes.
and upheld the ideology of the party.
Yes.
But since the Fourth Republic, it appears that the structure seems to have been changed. Those elected now constitute the leaders of the party. And the leadership of the party, the national chairman, national secretary, blah, 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 seem now to be accountable to the elected members. Why is it like that?
Well, up to the Second Republic, where we have supremacy of the party, there were a lot of things that were put in place then that ensures the success of that pronouncement that the party is supreme. Now, the constitution of political parties at that time clearly spelled out how party affairs will be run, and then how party will be, how political activities and party activities are sponsored.
In other words, the finances of the party.
The finances of the party. Now, everybody that becomes a member of a political party has something to do, has a responsibility. There is dues that every legitimate, every legal member of the political party is expected to chip in periodically, either weekly, monthly, or whatever, as their meetings were arranged.
A kind of collective ownership of the party.
So everybody then feel this sense of belonging, that it's our thing. So it doesn't matter what I bring in. What I bring in might be infinitesimally smaller than what you bring in. But at that time, I can say, look, I'm paying my dues, and you are paying your dues. So, we agree on how things are done. That was when we actually have
the parties were collectively financed.
But now things have changed. Now, as a matter of fact, membership of political party now, a lot of people out there now believe that when I join a political party, I should be paid a salary for being a member of that political party. So, and it has gotten to a level that, of course, when the people who seize the opportunity there, see it, then it becomes, they see the need for them to try and seize the opportunity to load it on the people. And of course, that's when we begin to talk about money bags. Now, they see the launch in there. They know that the political parties need logistics. They need finances. I know that. They say, okay, don't worry, we'll put it down. But when I put it down, this is what I get from it. So a return on investment. So it has become an investment.
So the governors who hold the purses of the state,
yes,
the ministers who hold the purses of the
yes,
ministries,
yes,
the president who holds the purse of the nation can make substantial contribution and make demands on what they get.
Of course.
Now,
and of course, the party had to dance to their tune because they know if they say no, the funds will not come.
Now, comrade, why I'm raising this is because the ruling party now, the All Progressives Congress, has been having a series of open disagreements. Now, let me just enumerate some of them so that we can put it in context. Before the primaries, the presidential primaries of the APC, in the run-up to the 2023 general election, President Muhammadu Buhari, in series of conversations and meetings with interest groups, leadership of the party, governors, advised the party to toe the option of consensus candidate. One, it would be less contentious and would divide the party less if a candidate is agreed on. Yes. Two, it would be less expensive because consensus wouldn't require all the money that moves around in the course of. But the party seemed to have been unable to settle for a consensus candidate. Now, the issue I'm trying to bring up, therefore, is this. The leadership of the party indeed announced former Senate President Ahmed Lawan as a consensus candidate. But interests within the party rose stoutly against that choice. And the national leadership of the party lost out. That was an indication of either a divided ideology, a divided governance perspective, a divided interest. In other words, the House seemed not to have been together in that wise. Now, a second instance. APC won election. The president is an APC president. And it came to the choice of the leadership of the National Assembly. Again, the president opted for Senator Godswill Akpabio. Within the party, there were stout disagreements to the point that Senator Yari of Zamfara State continued contesting the position of that party until he lost. By the way, before that contest, the national leadership of the party had said that efforts were still being made to determine who was going to be the party's choice. It never threw its weight behind Akpabio. Again, an indication of a divided house, divided interest. Just 2 days ago, after Senator Godswill Akpabio, National Assembly leadership had announced principal officers of the National Assembly, Senator Omishore, the National Secretary, and the National Chairman of the party, distinguished Senator Abdullahi Adamu, visited the president. And when they came out, they told the media that the principal officers announced by the National Assembly leadership that we are hearing of them like another person was hearing of them. That the party was not in the know and has not sent any letter indicating its choice. Meanwhile, those choices have been endorsed by the president himself. Another clear indication of a party torn in the middle. What do you make of this consistent indication of a house against itself?
To people who are not
politicians, like some of us ordinary Nigerians.
Yes, it will appear as something conspicuous or something very big, something quite unusual. But to some of us who have been in there, uh, it's one of the things. It's a normal thing that does happen, because in politics, like it is always been said, we don't have permanent enemies, but you only have permanent interest. You see, all of these things that are happening, that you are seeing, were all based on interest. Now, the president had been elected. Before the election of the president, now, all odds were against him. Now, he was not supposed to become the candidate of the party. As a matter of fact, everything was done so glaringly that even the blind can say and see that this guy, they never wanted him to be there. Few days to the primaries, the same national chairman we are talking about now announced somebody that he took to the then president as the consensus candidate. Now, that never happened, of course, because the current president insisted and his team insisted on a level playing ground. Yes, they went there. And of course, they did their homework well, and he emerged. So his emergence was not without dissension, was not without opposition. Now, he emerged. And he had, I mean, after inauguration, of course, the next thing that we had to do is for him to build his team. Now, in building his team, the practice is he needs to listen to the party. He needs to do that with his party. Yes, and in doing that with his party, as a person, because the primary thing for him that should be paramount on his mind now is, how do I succeed? And for him to succeed, he needs to build a team that he has trust and belief in. In doing that, that means he has to choose people he knows. Now, if he has to choose somebody that he does not know, then he must be introduced. He must have the confidence of people that he himself trusts. That's it. This guy, we have worked with him. We know, I mean, he can deliver. So when it comes to that, so many people will come. And in a situation like that, when somebody that stood stoutly against him going into the primaries brings somebody and say, look, I trust this person, of course it's just natural that he wants to think twice. That in the first instance, you never supported my candidacy. Now I have a match, and then you are bringing somebody. Now, he's an African person. He might just be bringing a mole, or bringing somebody that will just internally work internally to bring against my will. So he wants to look at somebody that he can trust, or that people around him can trust. So these things that we are seeing, they are just normal. They are normal things. It may not be that they are really or just working against the party or wanting him to fail or whatever. But politics is about interest. Now, everybody say, okay, what do I get in that? Yes, forget about the song that, look, I'm not in politics because of money, I'm not in politics because of that. I'm in politics because I want to serve the people. Forget about it. Everybody can say that. I mean, that's the song on the mouth of every politician. But deep down, you know, the first thing is, oh, I have spent money to get here. Now, I know there are challenges around. So how do I make myself comfortable? This position is transient. After this, how do I live? So these are some of the things they look at. But on the long run, whether they want to do it or not, they will still need to run along the line of the promises made to the people during the electioneering campaign.
I want to come into that.
Yeah.
The promises made to the people in the course of election, in the course of campaign, for the president to deliver on those promises, yes, he needs officials.
Yes, he needs
a team, ministers, but I don't want to dwell on ministers. He will need the cooperation of the National Assembly. Yeah. Now, if there are dissensions already where some people are against those he's brought, including the national leadership of the party, will this not be a distraction?
The National Assembly is a very critical arm and a very critical factor also when it comes to a political party in power delivering on its promises. Now, and that's the reason why we are getting this kind of rift, disagreement that we are getting now. Ordinarily, in any democracy, the National Assembly have the absolute right to decide and choose their officers themselves without any
interference or pressure from...
Exactly. But in the kind of, in our own climb here, now there is need for us, for the president to teleguide. But the teleguiding them shouldn't be open. It should be covertly to make sure that at least they get somebody, they get people that will agree with him, that have the same ideological focus, so that they will be able to say, okay, what we have promised the people, we are going to deliver. We are going to deliver. Because when there is rift between the executive and the legislature, there is the people that will suffer. Because at the end, of course, whether we like it or not, the legislators will take their salary, they will take their allowances and all that. Whether they see it or not, it doesn't really matter. But we, the people, will be the people that will suffer, because they will not be able to sit down and make laws. And whatever laws they are making for the people to make, to deliver, to ensure deliverance of dividends to the people, the executive may not assent and all that. So it's very, very important. Now, I think that's the reason why the president is saying, okay, this is the people I want. Whether the party agrees with it or not, these are the people that I'm going to work with, because I understand them. Because up until this level that we are now, the feelers is that every appointment or the positions that had been assigned, that have been filled in the National Assembly now, has the blessing of the president. It's the party now that is saying, no, the president cannot do that without without our input. And if the president...
But in fact, the national leadership is saying that we should decide.
Yeah, they should decide. But deciding, I think maybe they are leaving. Incidentally, Abdullahi Adamu is an old politician. Probably he just woke up and then he had a dream of what obtained during the Second Republic. And now we have moved away.
The game has changed.
Yeah, the game has changed. It is individuals now. Individuals sponsor political parties now, not the members of the party. And he who pays the piper dictates the tone. So until we get back to that regime where every party member has something chipping into the party to finance the party, that is when people will begin to have voice again.
Now, I want to sympathize with the president this afternoon. The president came in after some internal fight and emerged as the candidate and then the president. He is also inherited a baggage. The last government was sorely criticized for being ultra-partisan, ultra-ethnicist. Appointments that were made as if the country was only northern Nigeria. Now, the president is seeking to create a balance, apparently. But some people are saying, in seeking to compensate for the evils of the last regime, he's bending too southwards. Will Abdullahi Adamu and people who are likely to reason that way, would they have a case?
Of course they do. They do, because unfortunately, our politics had gotten to a level where bigotry and ethnicity had gotten an armchair.
Critical
Yeah, they got an armchair to sit down and then and decide when decisions are to be taken. Now, if not for that, I don't really see anything wrong in, okay, given the president, there are some appointments, there are some appointments that the president can make, even without recourse to the National Assembly and even the party. Of course, you're talking the president deciding, either president or governor choosing special advisors and all that. It's choosing people that he trusts that will work with him. Now, Abdullahi Adamu has a case, and it has a point there. It has a point in protesting. Now, the president threw his weight behind Godswill Akpabio to emerge as the Senate president. He emerged. Now it comes to time to, it is time now to choose who will work with him in the National Assembly. And Akpabio decided to say, look, I am a Southerner. I'm going to choose a majority leader. He chose a Southwesterner. Now the majority leader needs an assistance. And when he's not there, somebody should stand in for him. He chose a Southeasterner, meaning that the Senate president is from the South. The majority leader is from the South. The deputy majority leader is from the South. And you don't expect Adamu and Northerners to kick? Of course they will kick. Because that shows clearly that their wings have been pruned as far as the National Assembly is concerned. Meaning that they will now need to come and negotiate. They will have to come and lobby more than they will have been doing had a Northerner emerged. Yes, of course. If a Northerner had, it would just be it would be a matter of just walking into the office. My brother, I want this done, and all that. But now, these principal officers coming from the South, of course, when you talk to them, they want to consider the president first.
Let us give a piece of advice to Abdullahi Adamu. For him to survive this storm, should we eat the humble pie?
Well, I think it should.
And last note, that if APC doesn't harmonize things quickly, that the Nigerian electorate will be at the losing end.
Yes, I want to advise them to close rank. Now, the president wants us to believe now that there is no problem in his political party because he's carrying on, just doing his thing. Yes, it might be easy now, but it will get to a time that if it is not resolved on time, other interests will creep in. And opposition might just want to take advantage of that too, to infiltrate and then create a problem for him. Like in my parlance, they say when you go to excrete, if you stay too long there, different kind of flies will meet you there. So just do what you want to do and then
take a walk.
Take a walk. So I think this is the time for them to really come up and close rank and just launch themselves into delivering on the promises that they have made to the people. The people are wise. We are wiser now because we have had nasty experience, and any body language now that is tending towards the past experience we had, the people will react. Yes.
Thank you very much for coming to the conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Now, in a 2022 documentary interview, Pope Francis, speaking on same-sex marriage, had endorsed a civil union of same-sex couples. This was a euphemism for gay and lesbian unions. The Church of England, the United States establishment under the Democratic Party, and many other Western institutions have endorsed same-sex relationships. In fact, they have ascribed both marriage and family to these unions. Now, last week, however, after I had been beside myself on the dirty oddity, I got a relief from a colleague who used to work with NDIC, and he sent me a judgment by the Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, France. In a landmark, unanimous judgment, the World Court on Human Rights ruled that there is no right to same-sex marriage. The 47 judges from the 47 countries of the Council of Europe, considering, now listen to me, considering the philosophical and anthropological presentations based on natural order, common sense, scientific reports, and positive law, rule that the notion of family contemplates not only the traditional concept of marriage, that is, the union of a man and a woman, but also that they should not be imposed on governments as an obligation to open marriage to persons of same sex. This afternoon, I compliment the pronouncement of the Court on Human Rights with the pronouncement of the good book, which is in my hand. The book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 13 says, and please allow me to read. Verse 13, chapter 20. If a man sleeps with a man as with a woman, they have both committed a detestable thing. They must be put to death. Their blood is on their own hands. That is the good book. So who pressured the Pope to endorse same-sex union? Who has told the Church of England to desecrate the temple of God by consecrating same-sex marriages and appointing gays and lesbian priests? Who has taught the Democrats in the United States to first subscribe to and then blackmail African nations into endorsement of same-sex marriages? The Bible says, and please let me read it again. If a man sleeps with a man as with a woman, they have both committed a detestable thing. They must be put to death. Their blood is on their own hands. If not that Jesus had said that he who has not committed any sin, let him cast the first stone, I would have insisted that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris be stoned to death this Sunday afternoon. This is the Signature Show on AIT. We take a break and return shortly. Please stay with us. Well, Mesoma Ejikeme is now a topic of Nigeria's national conversation, next to activities of terrorists, bandits, and unknown gunmen. Mesoma is next most important topical issue in Nigeria today. But what is Mesoma? The forgery of JAMB results, or a sickening culture of crass dishonesty, and the national elevation of ill-gotten achievement, which has become the very cornerstone of our national identity. We attempt to answer in our next story, which itself is a question. What is Mesoma? Please stay with us. This past week has exposed a virus in Nigeria's national conversation. The virus that has afflicted Nigeria's capacity to seize opportunities presented by both ugly and noble situations to correct a national malaise. The virus is opportunism, cheap elevation of shadow for institutional self-praise or individual self-sale, and ignoring the substance. This past week has been occupied by a 19-year-old girl, Mesoma Ejikeme, and her JAMB result, which was thrown into the public arena by her presenting herself as having secured the highest score in the last Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board JAMB examination for admission into Nigeria's tertiary institutions. The claim of highest score secured scholarship from Innocent Motors for Mesoma.
Mesoma. And the owner of these results, I went to Jam Portal to print these results, and this is what they gave me. This is the result here. So this is my aggregate 362. This is exactly how I printed it. I downloaded it from that site. So they now saying that I forged my results is what I don't know, and I'm traumatized that they accused me of forging my own results, because I'm not capable of this forging results. This is the evidence. Okay, they say that I forged my results. They scanned this QR code there, and it showed another name, a Yoruba name, Omotola Afolabi, 138. And that same person that got 138, they checked again, the person got 338. Meaning that there is problem. There is problem somewhere. So, and we went to Commissioner of Education office on Friday last week. My principal and the educational secretary of Anglican Girls Secondary School, or Anglican Diocese. So we went there. We showed all these results to Commission of Education, both this one and the SMS they sent to me. And she snapped it and sent to the JAMB official. They called back saying that this is a forged result, that I forged it myself, that the JAMB office don't have the record of this. So they now say that I forged it, and they called the DSS over to come to her office. The DSS, they took us to their office, and we made our statement there, and they said they will contact us later, that they are going to investigate these results to know where the source came from. So that's what they said. And instead of them to wait for the investigation to be over, they posted that I forged my results without confirming. So I'm really sad that that's it. And it's not that since my nursery school I've been taking first, I'm a brilliant girl. It's not that I'm an illiterate person that will go and forge her results because I'm not intelligent to impress people. I've been taking first position since my nursery school. And even my common entrance, it was 300 and something.
I want to say that perhaps she is playing to a script that either she has written or people have written for her as a result of the environment that she has found herself.
A regrettable self-promotion by Osita Chidoka in a rather opportunistic write-up which sought to market his JAMB examination center and his application of computer-based tests in recruitment into the Federal Road Safety Corps and his unrestricted effort to keep his center in the good books of JAMB marked the fullness of this shadow chasing. JAMB itself had displayed institutional soullessness. It was not the lightning speed at which JAMB pronounced Mesoma a felon that showed it as shorn of institutional deep thought. It was the intellectual emptiness that prevented it from seizing the opportunity to address a clear and destructive culture of dishonesty in its examinations. If it did, maybe other examination bodies in Nigeria could benefit.
The first time I heard about this, I said, okay, let's look at track records. Is it possible, is she able to score this? Can we predict that based on her past records, she's able to get this kind of score? I know the thing about young people is everybody wants to project an image online, and I want to be the best, and it's good. I can imagine how she felt within that period of time where she was celebrated, and now everything is turning against her. It's a bad place to be. So I think that trust trust is built over time. And for me, there's been a track record. Yes, there's some, the people, like I said, JAMB has cancelled results before because of fraud or because of malpractice in a whole center just goes away. I think that goes to say what they want to see in the country, what their heart for the people is. And if something like this comes up, I think people should be patient to wait and see the outcome of things before they begin to point fingers at JAMB or even the girl.
In a way, I think this is also calling people's attention to, hey, if you want to forge this next time, you better think twice, because these people do have their data and everything fully in check. So you want to think 3 times. So in that aspect, I think JAMB has done very, very well to say that no, our system, you can't just hack it just like that. We know what we are doing. So I think even people now would think 2, 3 times before they would do that. But extra layer to that is to dig in deeper. How can we prevent people to even want to think of doing something like this?
But what is the substance? Mesoma was clearly a lead that could point to how and who are behind faking JAMB results. Mesoma was a lead to whether these merchants of fake results are operating from within JAMB or outside of it, or indeed whether it is a collaborative crime. JAMB blew these leads, discharged itself and probably its officials from any possible complicity. But is it really the case?
We cannot be, in quote, protecting the young people because of their future if we don't stop them now. If malpractice is encouraged at the lower level, it's going to increase until we see it in our governments. And that's what we are crying about today. And so if that is the case, I don't think it should be swept under the carpet.
For everything that happens, there's always an opportunity for growth. There's an opportunity for learning. I want to believe that JAMB would want to use this as an opportunity to learn and do more. Because we can't say at this point that they've taken all of the advantages from this situation. The result from the DSS is not even out yet. They've confirmed that it was forged. But who are the perpetrators? Who helped her in forging? Is this a syndicate system that has done it for other people, or she's just an individual on her own? I heard there's a JAMB app, a fake JAMB app. Is it actually okay?
Another substance is answer to the question, why? Consistently, educational certification forgery has become a blot on Nigeria's assessment framework in almost all areas of our national life. Ministers present fake results. Legislators present fake certificates. Presidents present affidavits as evidence of educational certification. And now, Mesoma has presented fake JAMB result. Why and how has certification fraud become part of Nigeria? Above all, however, is the question, could all these have been handled without destroying Mesoma and our future? Today, the 19-year-old girl with the world right before her has become the metaphor for dishonesty and ethnic derogatory comment. Could JAMB have put in more soul, more humanity, more discreetness, knowing that ruining the child's future is not and cannot be the objective of the examination bodies getting to the bottom of the matter?
I'm wondering and I'm asking, is there a role that the General Ministry of Education has to play in all of this? Because I haven't seen or heard anything from that aspect. However, going back to what can happen to her? A lot. A lot. Depending on her person as a person, depending on her personality, depending on her support system, depending on the social economic factors that surround her, it can either be negative or positive. Most likely, if not properly handled, it will be negative because this is a lady, she's a young person, she's a Nigerian, you know, she's a girl. Okay, I've seen the father, you know, from the media and all of that. I've seen some of these things. It looks like we may be, if we're not careful, producing somebody that may become quite hardened. Because the question now is, are we intervening or are we going to go on the path of destruction? Will there be an intervention for this girl in question? Because let's assume, just like the way Jam has said that, you know, she has forged the results in connivance with other people, and so there's this insinuation that she's a criminal person. What do we want to do to criminals? Do we want to reform them so that they can become better person? What intervention is, whether the government, the society, the Ministry of Education and all of that, going to do going forward on this particular person and on any other people that has criminal tendencies if it has been confirmed, you know? Because at the end of the day, down the line, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, if no proper intervention is done, we may be producing
Assessment distortions of this nature could still be arrested if we put in more thought, discard every tendency towards opportunism, and do more consequential consideration in reacting to our misnomers. Well, and now for our thank you this Sunday. Now, it's not at all always that the big masquerade appears. It appears at important times and seasons, and the Kano State government has just created one such important occasion by the confirmation of a female DJ Aboki as State Chief Judge. Progressivism and Minukanoism, these have been the strong points of Kano society and Kano politics. And this afternoon, and Mariah just tell the story of the good that comes from education. It's our thank you to you, to the Kano State government, and to the Kano State judiciary.
Idan ka haifi ɗanka, ka kai shi gun karatu, tica isa iyan ke farce sannan ya wanke riga ije aje ka gane yaron izan karatu. Idan kuɗanka ya kwana ɗaya, ya kwana biyu bai zo cikin tica ka gane zai bi shi har gidansu da ido ba lafiya ta yi. Idan ka haifi ɗanka, ka kai shi gun karatu, yayi firamare ai, yayi sakandire ai, yaje university, yaje Yamal da Rasha, ya gangara America, sannan ya sauka New York, ya gangara Italy har ma ya sauka Jamus. Zo gida in zauna to yayi gida da moto sannan ya samu aiki malam akwan a tashi wani tica ko bai da keke. Oh, to mai ya sa hakan nan. Tica uban karatu. Tica uban karatu. Na gane dai ticoci aikin da dai kuke yi ba dan kuɗi kuke ba taimakon ƙasa kuke yi domin kura ya yara sannan kura ya manya. Ashe injiniyan gidaje masu ƙere-ƙere masu zane-zane da masu tsare-tsare ɗin dan akwai tica ba dan akwai tica ba yaya akai su koya. Injiniyar gadoji da masu yin gidaje da masu ƙere-ƙere da masu zane-zane ba dan akwai tica ba yaya akai su koya. Injiniya ta hanya injiniya na hanya ba da akwai tica ba yaya akai su koya.
Well, that's our program for this Sunday, and thank you for investing your time with us. I'm Wabuz Njoko. Good afternoon.